Good afternoon, folks. Andrew Schartenberg here, your mortgage engineer. Today is Wednesday, January 26th, and I'm here on this snowy New England afternoon for your rate report and homebuyer tip of the day. Today we had a little bit of an active market. We have rates have stayed the same though. That's the good news, I would say. We're at on the conventional 30-year fixed 0-point perfect scenario loans. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, you're going to be talking 4.875, and on government loans, again 30-year fixed 0-point perfect scenario, FHA and VA, we're talking about 4.625%. So that's right where they were yesterday, even though the market has kind of changed pretty drastically. So a couple things of note in that regard. We have the 10-year Treasury note yield is today around 3.43% right now, which is up 0.11% from yesterday. That's a pretty big jump for one day, but it really hasn't affected mortgage-backed securities, because if you remember and you were watching the report yesterday, we saw a pretty big decrease, and that didn't lead for rates to go lower either. So even though the Treasury is bumping around a bunch, we really don't see mortgage rates changing too drastically. A couple other things to note: the Dow and the S&P, two stock indices that you can look at to kind of gauge the bond market, are both closing today at 2-year highs. So the stock markets are really on a run. Typically, you would expect that to really increase mortgage rates, and that's certainly what has caused the 10-year Treasuries to jump up today. But really, they haven't affected mortgage rates like you would normally think. Next up on the agenda, we've got new home sales. In December, they were up sharply from what analysts had expected, but the report also pointed to a lot of people expecting that the January new home sales are going to be down sharply. So that really hasn't had too much of an effect either. And lastly, the Fed announcement today was that really nothing's changed. The economic recovery is still very slow. Their outlook for long-term inflation is low, and they're going to keep interest rates low. So that's economic data for you in a nutshell today. And you may consider locking your interest rate if you have a closing taking place anytime soon, because even though rates did not change today, we did see that Treasury yield jump up. So if there's more, semi-positive economic data, they could jump later this week. So rates in a nutshell. The home buyer tip of the day, going to keep it short and sweet. Tax time is coming up, guys. What you're going to want to do is, if you bought a new home in the last year, grab your HUD-1 settlement statement and get that ready with your W-2s, so that when you go in to see your tax preparer, they'll be able to help you deduct the closing costs that you are able to do. So grab that, and don't forget to bring it when you go to prepare your taxes. I always advocate to use a CPA. Certainly, if you bought a home and you have mortgage interest and possible closing cost deductions now, you're going to want to get some kind of help if you're a new home buyer and you haven't done this before. If you're an old hat at it, you've been doing your taxes on your own and you know how to do this, certainly go ahead and do it yourself using a program like TurboTax. But if you're a newer person, go find help. And I like to say, use a CPA, a certified public accountant. They usually run around the same cost as a tax preparation firm, and they are infinitely more experienced and certified for that. So any realtor, mortgage professional is going to know a bevy of good CPAs that you can use, so ask for a referral. Lastly, file early. As soon as you get your W-2, if you're ready to go and you're expecting a state return this year, I don't care what state you live in. There's not very many states in the U.S. right now that are doing too well financially, and what we've seen from last year, and certainly probably going forward this year, is if you wait until April, the deadline to file your taxes, you may be waiting an awfully long time to get any state income tax return. So get out there and do your taxes now if you need that money and you expect a return. That's all for today, folks. Don't crash into each other out there. Certainly don't crash into me. I'm going to be driving around on these snowy New England roads this evening, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow and we won't get snowed out any further.